welcome to another episode of Grow For It. Today we have a very special guest, Mike Staver. Mike is a high-performance coach, keynote speaker, author, and now he has his own coaching certification as well. Mike's been coaching since 1992, so I'm sure he's got lots of wisdom to share with us today. Mike, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Nathan. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. Happy to have you. Can you start out by telling us a little bit about how you got into coaching? Was it a passion of yours that you discovered, or was it something you found that you were naturally gifted at, or maybe a mix of both?
I wanted to be a fighter pilot since I was 5 years old. That's all I ever wanted to do. And it didn't work out. Don't need to go into that, but it didn't work out. And ended up with a degree in business, and then went through a divorce in my 20s because I was a complete jerk. And if you looked up jerk in the dictionary when I was 25 years old, you'd have seen a picture of me right there next to the thing. And my mom said, hey, you should go to counseling. So I did. I didn't want to, but she was going to pay for it. Free is good. And as a result of that, I went back to graduate school and got a degree in psychology, and then had to do an internship. And then from that, I was the chief operating officer for a company in those days in Southern California. And I had to do an internship. And as a result of the internship, to get my master's in psychology, I had to work at a hospital. And at that hospital, I got offered a job. And then I got put on the mergers and acquisitions team. And as a function of that, I ended up doing some work for the hospital, speaking and that kind of thing. And so it was kind of a natural outgrowth of the speaking business. And because I had the counseling background, it was a natural segue to the business sector. So that's how it started.
Wow, that's great. Then was it a big jump for you when you had to actually go from working what most people would call the 9 to 5 to running your own coaching business?
It was not such a big leap because I sort of did a hybrid of it. I had always wanted to have my own company. I thought about it, differently. And my boss, best boss I ever had, Judy House, best boss I ever had, said, Mike, when you talk, people listen. So I started doing a little bit of a side hustle, sort of figuring out the ropes. But there have been a lot of hard knocks, Nathan. I mean, I've had my share of ups and downs over the years being a coach.
What would you say is one of the biggest things that was challenging for you to get through?
I think economic changes. The coaching business is subject to economic turmoil because companies and individuals, when they start losing revenue, tend to cut the things they need the most, right? They need coaching, they need development, they need all those things. So figuring out that was important. And the second thing that was most important was understanding the dynamic of how to get above the noise. I mean, Google executive coach, everybody thinks they're a coach. And so we really had to work hard to differentiate ourselves in the space. And I think we did a really good job of it, but it took a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of help, a lot of failure, a lot of bumps in the road.
So what were some of those things that you found to work well to differentiate yourself?
I think probably the number one thing to this day is having a very clear point of view about why people succeed and why people fail. That's number one. The second thing I think that helped me differentiate myself was I didn't say I was all things to all people. A lot of coaches out there, they're coaching how to be a speaker 1 minute and how to whatever. And we don't do that. I don't do that. And then the third thing I think helped me differentiate myself was that I stuck to a methodology that I developed and believe in. And then people started saying, you want to talk to Mike Staver. And they'd say, well, I had a coach before, it didn't work out. And they would usually say, you haven't had Mike Staver as a coach. It's very, very different. And one of my CEO clients one time said, if you want to get a coach, hire Mike, but only hire Mike if you want to do the work. If you don't want to do the work, don't hire Mike. And so those are the things that probably primarily did it. We work, though, interestingly enough, every year I do an exercise where I ask my clients 3 questions. I say, what do I do better than anybody else? what are the tangible results that you're getting as a result of working with me? And then finally, what would you tell a senior executive that was looking for a coach about why they should hire me? And then we build our entire sales methodology and our entire marketing methodology on what our clients say differentiates us. You can't do better than that, right? I mean, if you ask your clients what makes you different, and there's a theme, and there is, every year there's a theme, and then you go sell that, it's easier to get clients.
That's great. That's a very cool idea for kind of creating a brand, if you will. I saw that recently you went through a brand update. Can you talk to me about what you kind of, the thought process was behind that?
Yeah, we felt like the brand wasn't cohesive. So we would have some collateral material that looked one way, our website looked a different way. And I felt like we were building good content, and the content was nice, and it was well positioned. It was very effective, but I felt like nobody could say, that looks like it came from Mike Staver. That looks like a Mike Staver piece. And so we shifted away from that and decided that we wanted to be consistent in the look and feel and vibe. And we also wanted to be different in our brand. That's
great. I like that. That's great thought process you put into that. Can you tell me a little bit about your book? I saw that your book, Leadership Isn't for Cowards, was one you came out with. Can you tell me a little bit about what that's about and kind of some of the things people can get from there?
Yeah. So I've always believed that the best leaders are the leaders that do things. They don't just talk about them. They don't just think about them. But they actually get out there and make things happen. And I coach a pretty broad spectrum of people. And what I found over the years is that people, by and large, do not do a very effective job of identifying the thing that will help them move forward and then doing it. And when I started studying that, what I found was a lot of people are hesitant to do it because they have fear. Now, you get a powerful person, they're not going to say they're afraid, but if you listen to them long enough, they will hesitate to do the thing by explaining to you the reasons. And those reasons are usually fear of what they think will happen if they take dramatic action, if they do the thing. I was on with one of my clients earlier today, and that client was like, well, I do what you say, but Mike, what if this goes wrong? And, we've invested a lot in this project. That's all fear. So I decided that the way to do it was to help people understand the pathway to making courageous decisions. Nathan, courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is doing the thing in spite of the fear. And what a lot of people say is, well, you got to be fearless. It is a biological, neurological impossibility to be fearless. But it isn't impossible to move from what you're currently doing to what you need to be doing by taking bold action, despite what you feel. So when we wrote Leadership Isn't for Cowards, I said, how can I navigate and help leaders walk the pathway of being able to make those bold moves and bold decisions in spite of how they felt? So we did it. We use a 6-step process. The first step is accept your circumstances. Do a fearless inventory of who you are and what you're about. Number 1. Number 2, take responsibility. We live in a world of people who don't want to take responsibility. What they really want to do is they want to blame or make excuses. So the second thing to be courageous is own it. Feel the power and the responsibility to take steps. Then the third thing that we say you got to do to be courageous in the book is you need to take action. As I just said, don't just think about it. Don't just talk about it. Start taking action. Then the next step is acknowledge progress. That is, are you a person celebrating the immediate progress you're making, or do you have to do the whole thing? And then we talk about committing to gratitude. Sean Aker and others have done a lot of study on gratitude. And what they have discovered is that there is a interesting neurological thing that happens when you're really grateful, not thankful. Thankful is I'm thankful for my family, I'm thankful for my health. But gratitude originates in your soul, in the essence of who you are. So it only takes 2 minutes a day of gratitude to be successful. And then the final step is K, which is Kindle. I thought Kindle was an Amazon.com reading device, which Would have been very weird. Turns out I looked it up because I'm not that smart, so I look words up. And you might be interested to know that Kindle is defined as to give new life to. Isn't that a great definition? So the definition of Kindle is to give new life. So once you accept your circumstances, take responsibility, take action, acknowledge progress, commit to gratitude, then you have the power to give new life to the relationships that you experience. And so that's really the essence of the book and the path that we walk people down.
That's fantastic. I love those pillars, especially just focusing in on gratefulness. I feel like that changes your entire worldview if you have an attitude of gratefulness.
I do too. Yeah.
I saw that one of your other core beliefs or core pillars is bridging the gap between good intentions and outstanding results. Can you talk to me about that a little bit?
Yeah, the core, the essence of everything is bridging the gap between what you intend to do and what you actually do. I think most people wake up in the morning, unless they're a sociopath or a psychopath, most people wake up in the morning and have really good intentions, right? They want to do a good job. They want to be healthy. They want to have an impact in the world. No matter who they are or what they do, at some level, they have good intentions. Most people are pretty smart. They're not geniuses, everybody, but they're pretty smart. But most of us have a gap between our intentions and our execution. The most expensive problem a business has, the most expensive problem, is the gap between intentions and results. The most expensive gap you have or I have, the most limiting gap you have or I have is the gap between what you intend to do and what you intend to be and what you're actually doing at any given moment. So our work is work in the gap. We don't help people with their intention unless they really need it. And we don't really help people with their outcomes. What we help is what we call the executable middle. What is the thing that is not getting done in the middle that if you got it done would make an immediate change in your life, would make an immediate change in your business, in the podcast that you do, in the relationships that you have. Because I'm sure you have friends or family members or significant others who are like, I'm going to get around to that, or I really want to do that, or that's really what my intention is. Doesn't matter, right? What matters is, are you able to bridge that gap? Now, here's the cool thing. We don't even tell our clients that they need to close the gap. We just tell them this. You just need to narrow the gap just a little bit. If you can narrow it just a little, you'll get significant results on the other side. Most people don't do that, though. Most people talk about their intentions, think about their intentions, hope about their intentions, but we just need to narrow that gap a little bit, and I call it having an action orientation. Are you willing to take just a step? It doesn't have to be big. We've got a company right now that had a 26.5% increase in net sales last year, in gross sales last year. And a year ago, there was zero chance that they could have increased their sales by that much. And the only reason they did is because they took little incremental steps in the gap. They didn't take more steps in intention. They didn't take more steps on the outcome. They just said, what is one little step we can take today? And that compounded over the year. Today, we did our final call of the year. They've been a client for a couple of years. Or they've renewed for a couple of years. And they've had a phenomenal year. Margins are better. Everything's better. So that's what that is. If there's a brand statement that defines us, that's what it is. We help people, individuals and companies, bridge the most expensive gap there is today. And that's the gap between intention and results.
I love that. I think that's such a great focus for a coach to focus on that kind of improvement. Can you tell me a little bit about a client success story that you're really proud of? Yeah,
there are a lot of them. I think, let me see, one that I think would be really powerful. We were working with a company, and this company wanted to make a complete shift in the way that they did business. And they wanted to do it in a dramatic way by sort of shifting what they were thinking about and doing, but it was a risk for them. And they came to us and they said to me, Mike, we really want to make this shift. And we want to shift the way we do business from being sort of a transactional company to a purpose-driven company that makes coaching at the core of it. But we don't want you to do all the coaching. We want you to teach our people how to coach. And so we've done that with them. In fact, all of their leaders of their branches are certified coaches. They've had phenomenal improvement in, they won the best place to work in their county. They have increased sales significantly. Their customer service scores are up significantly. And so I think that's representative of the kinds of work that we do, because we believe that helping people perform better and live better lives is the key to everything. If you are purpose-centered, values-driven, and use that in a coaching methodology in your organization, you're going to bridge that gap. And we've got we've got a company who their people increased sales 47% who were coached versus people who were not coached. Now we don't do sales coaching. I have two people who are in sales. I do mostly leadership. But what is fascinating is our methodology applies across all platforms. And so we've got people in the service industry, we've got people in the sales business, all those kinds of things. So I think that particular one is the one I'm most proud of, because it's such a showcase for what's possible when you really adopt the methodology.
Out of curiosity, was your coaching certification born out of that client situation?
No, interesting. That's a great question, Nathan. The coaching certification was born out of 100% luck. It was, so here's what happened, dude. I'll tell you what happened. So I get a call. Well, one of my team gets a call, and they say, this guy wants to talk to you. He's the CEO of a company. And so he sent one of his people to talk. And they said, we know that our managers who have been coached by you, by Mike, outperform those who have not. So we want Mike to come teach our people how to do it. Will Mike do that? I'd never done it before. I didn't really know what I did that made me successful. I knew we were having good results. I knew our revenue numbers in the coaching vertical in our company were really high. I just never thought of teaching somebody else to do what I do. Never. I mean, it never crossed my mind. So they came to me and they said, one of my team members said, hey, this company wants to do it. Will you talk to them? And I said, I'll talk to them. Sure. So I talked to them and they said, will you do it? And I said, let me write a proposal. And it was blank canvas. I had no idea how to teach it. I had zero, because I hadn't done it before. But what do I teach, right? The power is in not the intention, not the result, but in the gap. That's where the power is. So I sat down on my back porch with a legal pad and a pen, and I just wrote down, what do I think I do? What's the process for what I do? And I built it, and then I talked to them and wrote a proposal. It was kind of expensive and for them. And I said, this is what it's going to take. And that's the way it started. And by the way, I never intended to do it again. Never intended to do it again. And at the end, they said, wow, this is the best thing we've ever done. I mean, it's really, really good. So you should start doing this. And that's how it started. And then right on the heels of that, 6 months, a year later, COVID hit. Part of my business is speaking. I do a lot of speaking on leadership. So what was it? March the 12th, 2020, I was doing a keynote in Las Vegas when the world shut down. And 75% of my speaking revenue contracted, disappeared in 72 hours. And I said, I better do something. So I said, man, what if that coaching certification had legs? So we started putting it out there first to the people that I coached. And people are like, wait, you can teach us to coach like you coach us? I'm like, yeah, I can do it. And now it's evolved into, we're going to start a new cohort in January, actually, the first or second week of January.
Wow, that's great. A really cool way of how you've tested the market, you've adapted to difficult circumstances and found something that worked really well. So
yeah, and isn't that the way most business ideas, I find that When I talk to high net worth or successful entrepreneurs or founders or CEOs, it isn't this pretty little package where you sit down in a room and it all is beautiful and then you market it and then you sell it. It's a messy thing. I mean, we know that Kind bars are the best-selling bar in their class, but they weren't in 2008. The company was going to eliminate them in 2008, right? So I think the thing that I want your listeners to know is don't perfect it. Don't try to get it ready. When you have opportunity, seize it, do what you can do with what you have, and then kind of build it as it goes. We just made a change to the coaching cert last cohort. And we've been doing it. We've probably got 450 who've gone through it in the last 4 or 5 years. And we change it all the time because no product, I think the key, and I teach this when I coach, is you got to be willing to improve all the time.
Yeah, that's great. Very good lesson there. Looking at it from a business perspective, what would you say is driving most of your growth right now?
Well, just so your listeners know, our business is in 3 categories. It's in speaking, coaching, and then high-end advisory work. So I advise companies, usually at the C-suite level, sometimes at the SVP, EVP level, and we charge a retainer for that, a monthly fee. So the thing right now that's driving the business as a whole is our commitment to and rigorous pressure toward being really customer-centric about where their gap is, and then building our services to meet that gap. The thing that's driving the business mostly is that I think the world right now is in a place where there's a lot of noise and they need something to cut through the noise. And so I think our messaging is driving the business. I think our successes, we've hit a little bit of critical mass now where the numbers are coming in as to what they're doing with our methodology. And so I think the results we're creating, or the results our clients are creating, is driving it, and our ability to, as I mentioned earlier, articulate a really clear point of view that attracts the right kind of customers, and then making sure we're delivering that so the customers are getting results.
That's fantastic. What about on the flip side? What is one of the biggest challenges that your business is facing right now?
I think probably the biggest challenge is scale for us in terms of capital to scale and then resources to scale. I have really big goals for the company over the next couple of years. One of those goals is to 3x the company in the next 3 to 5 years. And so I think managing the capital around that and then the right people doing the right jobs. I'm a big believer we need to challenge and call people to a higher level of performance all the time. So I think that's it. I think another thing that has just been occurring to me recently is there's always a debate, right, for business owners. Do I niche heavily? Am I more broad in the approach? And I find that most of our people are in various verticals, so that's probably the biggest hindrance. But I think resources, like any business, and being able to bridge that gap between, do we take on investment? Do we not? Do we try to do it organically? Those kinds of pieces of the puzzle, I think, are our biggest challenge.
And remind me, how many years did you say you were trying to 3x your business in?
5. Well, 5 at the latest. Our goal is to 3x and then probably 10x ultimately, but 3x is the big number for us. And so in the next 5 years, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
What about
if I only did 3x, I'd be disappointed. I mean, my coach, I have a coach, of course, and he says, "Oh, Mike, with what we're doing right now, you're going to be able to do much more than that." But I think 3x would be really strong in the next 3 to 5 years.
That's great. So one thing you just mentioned that you have a coach. Obviously, you are a coach, and you have been a coach to many other coaches. And I hear that pretty frequently in the coaching industry. That probably no one realizes the need for coaching more than coaches themselves. So what advice would you give to someone out there who's looking to find the right coach for them?
First of all, look yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, do I really want to coach? Because if you're coached by me, I am very clear about helping you perform better, but it isn't easy. There are times when, my clients are like, woo, and we have a lot of renewals. We do 6-month contracts for our coaching practice. So first look in the mirror and say, are you coachable? Are you really coachable? That's number one. If the answer is yes, make sure you hire a coach who's we call it in our practice, speaking the truth in love. Make sure that you hire somebody who is going to be honest with you and care about you and call you to your best self. There are a lot of coaches out there who it's all just sunshine, rainbows, and unicorns, and they want to encourage you and support you. And then there are coaches who just want to beat you up. And we don't do either of those. We are about calling you to your higher self. So make sure that you are coachable, first of all. And then secondly, that you hire somebody who's going to speak the truth in love. And then the third thing you need to be looking for when you are working with a coach is this particular person using the sort of skill set that really gets you? I say to my clients, my job is not only to listen to what you want to get from coaching, but listen to the thing behind the thing. What is not the thing you present with, but what is the thing behind the thing that you're asking for that's preventing you from narrowing that gap? Most people present with, I want to be a better communicator. I want to solve this problem. I want to do this. And what I do is I say, we're going to do that. What I want to know is what's the thing behind it? Like, what is the limiting factor? What is going on? So we prefer to go deeper than wider. And I think you need a coach who's going to be really good at diagnosis. My mantra as a coach is treatment before diagnosis is malpractice. So you absolutely must have a coach who's really good at diagnosing what's really going on and doesn't just use or a class they went through. There are a lot of people who certify coaches. And we teach people how to be better at diagnosing and being flexible, not here's what you do in every coaching session.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. And so you have pretty aggressive growth goals, which I love to see. How do you see technology, automation, artificial intelligence, how do you see that impacting the coaching industry as a whole and specifically your business?
I think that AI and tech will not replace us unless we don't embrace it, and then it'll consume us. Let me say that again. I think that AI and tech in general will not replace us unless we don't embrace it. And if we don't embrace it, it'll consume us. So first, we have to embrace it as a partner, not as an adversary or something to be afraid of. Our number 2 strategic goal for 2026 is the adoption of deeper tech and AI. So I am all in on it. I am all in on making it successful. I think the way it'll impact our business is I think I'm going to be able to scale access to me at a price point that is much lower and will give them a similar sort of experience. Now, not like me and you talking, but close. I mean, I'm working right now with somebody on an AI technology where I'll be able to upload all of my content and they'll be able to access that in real time. Now, it's not going to be able to diagnose yet. It's probably coming, but it's going to be able to interact in a way that is meaningful. So I think that's the second thing. And then the third thing is I believe that, as Superman's father said, only use your powers for good. How can I leverage technology to have a more positive impact in more lives, in more places in the world, to people who might not otherwise be able to access this kind of work? And if it's not for me, maybe it's from somebody else. But I really believe that having a partner that's faster and smarter. It's interesting. I said I use me and ChatGPT. I named it. I call it Magnus. We meet every single morning for 20 minutes. Every day we block out my day. We talk about strategy for the day. And I said to ChatGPT one time, to Magnus, I said, man, I wish I was as smart as you. And this is what it said. Now, we've been working together for some time. It knows me inside and out. And it said, Mike, you are as smart as me. In fact, you might even be smarter in this way. you're able to humanize the insights that I create from a data set. But your ability to be fully human makes my ability not to be fully human a good partnership for you. Perfect.
Well, that's really good.
Really good, right? Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Well, let's see. If you had to give one tip to someone out there who's just getting started in their coaching journey, what's something that is actionable that you wish you knew when you were starting out?
It's a great question. First of all, they're not going to just come to you because you're a coach. So as we started out saying, you got to have a defensible point of view. So be clear that you must be an expert at something. You can't just show up, right? So get clear about a defensible point of view. And you do that by either getting certified, studying, understanding your philosophy. I think that's the most actionable thing. In fact, if they're listening to this, they should get active right now, finding somebody to partner with who can help give them the ability to do it. Because I cannot tell you the numbers of people who come to us and say, I thought I was coaching until I went through your coaching certification and I realized I shouldn't have been talking to anybody, right? You guys have really helped. So that's the thing. Be an expert, be a professional, don't just hang out a shingle. And the training is the one actionable thing they can.
What do you think is one of the biggest misconceptions that you see from people that tell you that message, that they weren't actually coaching before, but now they really understand it on a whole new level?
What's one of the what? One of the biggest misconceptions that you see them coming into your coaching programs with? Yeah. That's a great question, Nathan. I think there are probably several, but the biggest misconception is that it's just talking. It's just goal setting. It's just helping people move forward. We think that coaching is a very deep, very personal, very connected way to help people get somewhere. And I think the biggest misconception is that they are already doing a good job coaching. It's a little bit like, you've been eating a certain type of food for a long time and you think this is really good food. And then you go to a restaurant that has unbelievable food and you're like, oh, this is good food. That's what I think the biggest misconception is. That was my biggest misconception when I first started. And I think that's the biggest misconception is that, it's easy. It's a misconception. It's not easy. My sessions are 50 minutes long, 10-minute break at the end. And the only reason I have that 10-minute break, Nathan, so I have a break to reboot and refocus. That's probably it. Probably another misconception is that it's easy to coach. It's not easy. If you're good, it's not easy. I like that. If you're good, it's not easy. Most people would probably think it's the opposite way around. No. It's, I've been doing it for a minute. I've been doing it really actively for 20 years. And, every day at the end of the day, I feel like I put in a hard day's work today. Now I love it. And we're very blessed. Our renewal rate's like 97, 95% on renewal contracts. So I really love it. But so it's not like do what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. That's dumb. Yes, you will. If I'm doing what I love and at the end of some days I'm like, woo, I need a nap. That's what I need, Yep. And even if you are doing what you love, I'm sure there's still parts of it that are work and parts of it that may not be your favorite thing, but you still do it. Yeah. Well, I'll leave you with this. What's the best place for our viewers to find more information about you, your programs, and what you have to offer? Thank you for that ask. If they go to MikeStaver.com, right on the homepage, it'll say, want to be a coach. They can click there. They can go to our speaking page, watch some videos. They can also go on our YouTube channel, which is Mike Staver, obviously. Now, there is another Mike Staver roaming around out there. I think he's a lawyer for some Liberty University or something, but you'll know me when you see me. But I think MikeStaver.com is the best place. And then you can also connect us on LinkedIn. We'd love for you to connect with us on LinkedIn as well. That's great. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Mike. A lot of great insights. And I think people will really have a lot to think about after this one. So thank you. Yeah, thank you. And thanks for having me. I love doing these and you're very persistent and I really appreciate that. And being willing to work with my schedule and get me on. So thank you for that. You're doing noble work. I encourage you to continue. Well, thank you very much. And I appreciate you making time for it. I know you have a very busy day today, so it means a lot that you're here. Thank you.
Yep. And thank you to our viewers. If you found this valuable, please leave us a like and subscribe, and we'll see you here on another episode of Grow For It. Thank you.